Our Thriver Talk today: 5 hidden things that narcissists do to keep you trauma bond. So, have you ever thought, why am I still hooked? Why do I still miss somebody who hurt me? Why can't I stop thinking about them even when I know that they're toxic? It's not weakness, it's definitely not love. It is a trauma bond. And today I want to uncover the 5 hidden ways that narcissists deliberately trap you into trauma bonds and how to start breaking free. And I know that a lot of you have gone through trauma bonds because trauma bonds are all a part of narcissistic abuse. And one of the reasons that I want to talk about this today is I'm sharing this as a heartfelt request actually in the NARP private group. I'm going to be doing a special talk and Q&A and sharing healing tips with them on Friday. But I also know that this isn't just for NARP members that are still struggling with trauma bonds. It's also for the greater community as well, because it is so common. And true freedom doesn't happen from narcissistic abuse until A, you understand trauma bonds, and B, you have the ways to get free from them. Because people can be stuck in trauma bonds literally for years and decades if they ever get over them. Before we dive into this, I would really like to ask you to help support this mission if you could. It'd be beautiful. Please like, share, and subscribe to my Thriver Talks across my channels so that we can spread the word that real healing is possible. Not just coping, managing, or endless talking about the trauma, but actually shifting it out at the deep quantum level. And that's what makes my work so unique, that it's not just about surviving narcissistic abuse. In this community, we heal for real from the inside out, and not just survive, but truly thrive in ways and time frames that you may have never had access to before. So if you or somebody you know is suffering from narcissistic abuse, or you're part of any support groups or communities, please share this video, because it could change the life of somebody and maybe even save it, because they're going to be able to get out of their head and come in at it from a quantum perspective and understand the deeper truths about it. Okay, so let's dive into this. The number one way that a narcissist can trauma bond you. And it's about intermittent reinforcement. And this is how they do it. It's about giving you tiny hits of relief after pain. But what happens is the pain gets more and more and the relief gets less and less, and you actually get trained to accept breadcrumbs. So narcissists cycle abuse with false hope. What happens is they will reconnect, and it's usually when, after a devalue discard, it's really when you're ready, enough is enough, and you're at your breaking point. And they know they may lose you as narcissistic supply. And it's not about love. It's not about caring. It's not about the empathy and the recognition of what they've done. Because to the narcissist, they're the victim of your reaction and their wounds and shame. And they don't have the peripheral to understand what they did to you or lean into that. But when you're about to go, the narcissist may give you some intermittent relief. So this is where they can reconnect, and they're going to give you some affection. It may seem like there's some ownership. It may look like there's an apology, but it's not grounded in reality. It's not genuine. It probably doesn't land properly in your body, but it's fleeting relief. It's a breadcrumb. And you may accept it because you didn't expect it. It shocked you. You were just about to leave. And this is the tactic of, I'm going to hoover you back, rather than the indifference, the detachment, or the cruelty that you were chasing after them about. So one woman in our community, as an example, she said, and you can probably relate to this, after days of the silent treatment, he texted me, "I miss you." Just those 3 words, "I miss you." And I felt like I could breathe again. It's like this incredible relief. It's like the pain was forgotten. And even though I know that I'd spoken up, he'd taken off, he ghosted me, and this is about the fifth time that I've been through this cycle, every time that I spoke up about his behavior to me, I felt the relief from three little words. Now, what that really is, it's a rush of dopamine. And dopamine is relief after trauma, and it keeps the hook in place. So it's like a sugar rush. And dopamine relief is actually the root of addiction and what trauma bonds us. And I'm going to explain this in a minute. So she started to realize that she was addicted to him and his love, and she realized that she was in a trauma bond, because that explained, well, why do I get those three little words? I let him straight back in, even though I know that the next time I try to have a need or a want or a boundary, he's going to devalue, discard me, and ghost me again. Okay, so let's dive a little bit deeper into this. Point number one, intermittent reinforcement, so that you can hopefully understand it. It's actually the core of every trauma bond. Intermittent reinforcement is the high that comes after the pain. And it's the temporary relief that creates the chemical addiction to dopamine. And I've talked about this before, that healthy feelings in love and bonding are oxytocin, which is heart open, love, it's connection, and it's feelings of safety, warmth, and connection and intimacy. That's what oxytocin is. And you don't have that in sustainable ways with narcissists. You may be feeling the oxytocin when you're coming forward, but they literally don't. But what you really have a lot of, rather than feelings of safety and warmth and connection in oxytocin, is you're having feelings of cortisol and adrenaline. You're being triggered, you're feeling dysregulated, your nervous system is not feeling healthy, it's feeling wired, it's feeling in shock, it's feeling in anxiety, it's feeling in fear a lot of the time, because you're walking on broken glass and you don't know when the rug's going to be pulled out from underneath you, and you're having to internalize so much shame and pain because you can't speak up and you can't be yourself and you can't have an oxytocin relationship with this person. So you're getting a lot of the adrenaline and you're getting a lot of the cortisol. Now, what happens is when you get a breadcrumb and some intermittent reinforcement, you're feeling dopamine, and dopamine's relief. And think about it like this. It's Stockholm syndrome. If you were actually with somebody who was had you captured, and you're blindfolded, you're tied to a chair, you don't know what's going to happen to you, and they took the blindfold and untied you and gave you a meal and said, well, today I'm going to give you a meal and you're going to live. The relief is so huge, you may literally feel like you love this person. And it's been documented that that's what Stockholm syndrome is about, and that's what intermittent reinforcement is about. Now, because you're in so much trauma, the relief, even if it's a breadcrumb, can feel massive. So the relief may be that they're not being awful today. The relief may be that they gave me a kind look, that they walked in the door and came over and gave me a kiss, which are all normal things in relationships that are really low-level things. But to you, they're huge, because that didn't happen when they walked in the door. This happened. So you can see how you get trained into getting dopamine hits is everything to you. But of course, they don't last. You're back into cortisol and adrenaline, and it's happening a lot. Okay, so when you first met the narcissist, this is the biggest intermittent reinforcement deal that got set up. They seemed like the answer to your wounds, and a lot of this was subconsciously. So we might have been carrying things like, it's not safe to be myself, I'm too much, I'm the black sheep, people don't approve of me, I'm still carrying shame. And this person shows up and they seem to see and hear you and meet you like nobody else ever did. And you feel this connection with them that, you know, may be incredible. It's so powerful. You finally feel met. And it was an incredible hit of relief from the unconscious wounds of childhood and past relationships. It was an intermittent reinforcement in itself. And of course, there's the love bombing, where narcissists are very, very skilled and adept at love bombing to be able to get you to put down your defenses and to idolize their false self, because they don't want you to see the true self that's covered by the mask of the false self. And they want people to fall in love with the version of them that's perfect, that's omnipotent, that's a great human being, and not see the true self. And that's a lot of what the love bombing is as well. But what happens is, as time progresses and you've been idolized because you're granting a grade, beautiful narcissistic supply, you're idolizing their false self that's not real. And they're getting the feedback from that, which is pumping up their tires, and you're in that love bombing, idolized phase. Of course, it's not going to last because it's not real. And that is dopamine. That is just full on, a full blast of dopamine for you and for them. Oxytocin comes from safety, bonding, trust, intimacy, vulnerability. Think of oxytocin as safe connection. I see you, you see me, we're vulnerable, we're real, we work through our stuff. I've got your back, your heart, your soul, you've got my back, heart and soul. That's true love. And this wasn't that. It's fully blown dopamine. Now what, and we haven't understood that we're escaping our inner traumas with the dopamine. We haven't realized that, and we were, versed and taught that we were meant to idolize Hollywood and the version of Mills and Boons, and love is all about dopamine. Do you ever see a love story about the real grist of truth, trust, hard conversations, laying boundaries, having needs and wants, being honest, showing up authentically and vulnerably? No, that was never our programming, but that's what true love is. Okay, so the intermittent reinforcement, you're in dopamine, they're in dopamine, and then what happens is the illusion cracks because the narcissistic mask doesn't hold, it starts cracking. And what comes through is the unhealed child, when you're not adhering completely to the version of the false self that they're presenting in real everyday life. What happens is they start taking offense and feel criticized or whatever it is, and the narcissistic personality starts appearing. And when the narcissistic personality starts appearing, narcissists are so black and white that you're either wonderful, idolized, or you're terrible, you're the villain. So they're only going to relate to you in one of those two ways. So that's when you're starting to you're out of dopamine and you're getting cortisol and adrenaline, because all of a sudden this wonderful person is looking at you like they hate you. They are coming out with comments that are just disdain and demeaning, like they hate you, and they look at you like they hate you. And you're like, what happened to this wonderful person? And of course, you keep chasing that. So you're in the cortisol and the adrenaline of being devalued with the disdain, and you're trying to get back to the idolization of when they saw you, met you, understood you, and idolized you, which was actually an act. Let me explain intermittent reinforcement in another way that they did with a rat with experiments, and it's absolutely fascinating. So how this experiment happened was rats in a cage were given a button to push to be able to get their pellets, their food. And the rats realized that you push it, you get food, you eat your food. Then the button was turned to 3 pushes, And the rats worked out quickly, okay, 3 pushes, I get my food. A couple of days later, it was changed to 5 pushes. The rat worked it out, okay, 5 pushes, I get my food, and dealt with that. But then what happened was, if the button was turned to random, the rats went mental. And they would push and push and push, and pellets were littered everywhere. They foregoed self-cleaning, drinking water. They were literally junkie addicts hooked on the button. And why were they hooked on the button? Because it wasn't stable, it wasn't secure. They were completely trauma bonded, trying to push the button to get it to be safe again. Can you see what happens here? How big that trauma bond is with a narcissist? Because clearly what's happening is that you are trying, that's what hooks you to them, going in harder with explaining and lecturing and prescribing and trying to get them to reset back to sane, normal, mature, caring, empathy, connected to you in partnership. And the harder you push, the more the button becomes random and becomes crazy, and it gets worse. And that's the same with any addiction. And if you think of people that gamble, they're either winning money or losing money, and it's all uncertain, and they're pushing the levers and the buttons more and more and more to try to get the security. So that's exactly what intermittent reinforcement does. Okay, you don't know when you're going to go hungry, you don't know when you're going to be demeaned, invalidated, or rejected, you don't know where the button's going to give you a feed, and you're in shocking survival chemicals of cortisol and adrenaline that are wrecking your body and your nervous system and your entire life, trying to get a hit of dopamine. And that's what happened. So, all right. So this is why, this woman who was trauma bonded that I was telling you about, who was my client, she couldn't understand why she was so hooked until she realized about the trauma bond. Because she used to say, like, I know he hurts me, he's so cruel, the disgusting things he does, but why am I still longing for him? And this isn't about love, and we mistake it as love. And the whole twin flame conversation, oh my God, that women are so stuck in, I know he's my twin flame. No, you are chemically addicted to him, just like an addict chasing the next high. Because that's what we're doing. We're chasing that feeling of maybe this time it'll be different. And then all he had to do was breadcrumb her with a simple, I miss you, or I still love you. And gosh, I've fallen for it too. Or, I'm sorry, I messed up, I shouldn't have done it. And that's all it is. And you're back in. And she was suddenly pulled back in. And the thing is, our soul knows better. It feels shocking, but we go with it anyway because we're addicts. And she had, like all of us, experienced that every single time nothing changed. It was the same cycle. I open my door, my heart, I give you another chance. You've never done the inner work. You've never sorted out the reasons why you behave the way you do. I've let you back in. There's been no change, and everything is going to go back to normal. And in fact, the cycles always get worse. They don't get better. But our nervous systems are trapped in trauma bonds. Does that make sense? Let me know in the chat if you relate to this. Just say me if you have ever gone through intermittent reinforcement, because I know you have. Okay. And just say yes in the chat if you are still going through it. Okay. Because I want you to know that you can heal it. And I'm going to be talking about that today with you, how you can heal that. And in fact, if you are so sick of this intermittent reinforcement and feeling like a junkie, I remember in my life, there was a time where I was feeling like I would crawl on a dirty rug to get a sniff of the drug. I was so hooked on him. It was the most horrible horrible feeling. And I know what intermittent reinforcement is all about. If you are going through intermittent reinforcement, I want you to write reclaim in the chat, because I'm going to send you some details about how you can get out of intermittent reinforcement. I've also got a special offer for you that's lasting for 2 days. So I want you to write reclaim in the chat, because I can really help you with that. Okay, so number 2, the second reason is they create cognitive dissonance that warps your reality. So what narcissists do is they twist words, they shift blame, and they gaslight you into doubting your own perception, and you start second guessing yourself. And you know that, you've experienced that. So one of my NARP members, she once told me, as thousands of people have, he would speak down to me about things. He would ignore me or completely invalidate me when I tried to tell him how I was feeling and what he was doing to me if I spoke up. And he would then deny it ever happened. He'd say, you're imagining things. He'd say, you're too sensitive. Your emotions are too much. He would also say to her things like, I was going to say what you wanted me to say, but you didn't let me speak. So he would say all of those things to her. And of course, she wondered if she was going crazy. And this confusion kept her searching for clarity, trying to reason to him, to explain, to bring him back to what actually happened, trying to explain things that a young child easily understands about decent human behavior and communication. But of course, he was completely committed to not understanding her, because if he had to understand her and acknowledge that, he would need to be accountable for his behavior, and he was going to avoid that at all cost. So that's what that whole confusion is about. That's what gaslighting is about. It's about control. It's about manipulation. It's about you doubting your reality, and it's about rewriting the scenario to fit the narcissist's script. They rewrite reality. So of course this was trauma binding her terribly, because she's trying to get reality happening and demand sanity and integrity but by her trying to get that, it just meant she was offering herself up as the narcissist being able to gaslight her more. The more that you try to explain the truth, the more you are offering yourself up with details for the narcissist to twist and turn and gaslight you. And by the time she started working with my narcissistic abuse recovery program, she literally thought she was losing her mind. She was having panic attacks. She had agoraphobia. She was barely functioning. Because, like the rats, the harder you push the button, the more the random setting kicks in with narcissists. They've got more to work with to twist and turn you and gaslight you. So many people don't realize this, that the more you logically try to make sense out of chaos, the more your mind gets scrambled and traumatized. So the more that you try to control an out of control person, the more out of control you become. Have you ever found yourself obsessing for hours and days after those word salad conversations and communications? Have you been replaying them in your head even when you've pulled away? Just say yes in the chat if you have. Okay? Just say yes. Because it is just horrible. Horrible. And again, if you are going through this garbage and you haven't reclaim in the chat, because it is one of the quickest ways that you're going to lose your mind and feel like you are just not going to be able to cope and deal. And it really infiltrates you and your nervous system, and those conversations keep replaying in your head, the insanity of them, for days, weeks, months, and years. I've met people decades later who are still obsessing about those conversations, and we don't have to live like that. Because when somebody hijacks your mind, what happens is the trauma of that wedges in your body. And the only way out of that is to actually shift the trauma out of your body and release it. So this lady who had agoraphobia, she was barely functioning. She was stuck in the stinking thinking, at the obsessional thinking, and it was stripping her life force. And she was hooked on him. She kept going back in for more and more, dangerously. This lady started doing the Quantum Freedom Healing modules inside of my NARP program. She went no contact. She dedicated herself to the healing. And very quickly, even after the first healing, she started to feel relief and clarity. Her nervous system started to calm. Her mind began to quiet. And she was able to keep going with her healing and get out of that horrible loop. And she finally saw the truth, that this wasn't about winning. Okay, it's like that saying, if you wrestle with a pig, you get dirty and the pig enjoys it. It's the same with narcissism when you're in this cycle. So she saw the truth, she detached. And that's exactly where NARP and Quantum Freedom Healing steps in, because it helps you get the trauma out of your body. And then when you get a shift on the inside and your nervous system starts regulating, then the mind doesn't go crazy. It follows, it calms down as well. Because the emotional chaos has settled, the trauma is released. When that happens, the insanity no longer hooks you. So let me ask you, have you tried everything? Have you tried therapy, talking, reading, understanding, and you still feel stuck? Have you? Let me know in the chat. Say yes if you have. Okay, because it's really common. And have you said, I know they're toxic. I know they're toxic, but I still feel pulled back in. Give me another yes if that's been you, or if you're still going through it. Or say past if that was you in the past, but you're through that now. You're not doing that anymore. Okay, so present. Do you keep now still cycling through grief, guilt, hope, and pain? Cortisol, adrenaline, back to dopamine. Cortisol, adrenaline, back to dopamine. Maybe you read an article. Maybe you have a conversation with somebody. You get a bit of a dopamine hit, but then you're back in the cortisol and the adrenaline. There's cycles of grief, guilt, hope, shame, pain, but there's no real lasting peace. Say me in the chat if that's what you've been going through. And are you exhausted from thinking about how this is going to stop? If you're nodding yes, you're not alone, and it's not your fault. I want you to understand that's all evidence that you're trauma bonded. Not twin flaming with your one and only that it's meant to be right. You are trauma bonded, but there is a way out of that. Okay. And like this woman, when she shifted out the traumas, she saved her soul, her sanity, and her life. And you're able to do that as well. I promise you, I've helped thousands of people to do that. And would you like that? Would you like to stop obsessing, hurting, doubting, and spinning? If so, type reclaim in the chat, and I'll personally DM you all of the details. And also please know, as a thank you for watching this live, I've got a special discount for you for NARP, which is available for the next 2 days. Okay, so number 3, how do narcissists trauma bond you? Number 3 is they meet your deepest wounds and then they exploit them. So narcissists, it's really important to understand this. Narcissists don't just profess to love you and meet you at the deepest level. They actually scan you. And narcissists have admitted to me that they actually want to work out how people tick to be able to manipulate them. And that's just the truth. So what narcissists do is they find your deepest unmet needs and they pretend to be the answer at the beginning, and then they weaponize those gaps against you. So another NARP member, she shared about her meeting and initial connecting with the narcissist. He knew I never felt good enough. And at first he'd say to me, "You're the most incredible woman I've ever met." He built me up endlessly and said, "I can't believe why other people couldn't see who you are, what a beautiful person you are, what a big heart you are, how talented you are, how real you are," all of those things. He built her up. And she said he was my biggest promoter and supporter. Then later, when I confronted him about his lies, he'd say, "No wonder nobody stays with you, because you are so insecure. You're so insecure about yourself. You can't trust me. You accuse me of terrible things because of your own insecurities. And it's impossible to have a relationship with you, and nobody would be able to have a relationship with you." So he used her wounds of rejection by other people to keep her trying to earn his love, making it her fault. So she wasn't just chasing the original version of him that he used to secure her as narcissistic supply. He was also using her subconscious craving of, "Please love me differently this time," right? "Please be honest to me. Please show up for me. Please love me differently. Please stop blaming me for your dysfunctions," that she'd had in her childhood and with previous lovers, where he was replaying the exact wounds that still haunted her. And this is true for every narcissist. I promise you, in every client that I've worked with and every NARP member that I've worked with, when we break it down, where they're hitting you is the same programs and wounds that they used to appear as the savior for. It's when you trace it back, it's always the same thing. So what hurts the most is usually what you trusted them with the deepest, that they turn against you, they flip the script. So fortunately, when she went through her NARP 10-step healing process, she was able to feel and then heal those original wounds of being told that she was insecure, that she was too much, that she had it wrong, that wasn't how dysfunctional people were behaving, and it was her insecurities. She got scapegoated for other people's dysfunctions. She was able to heal the trauma from her childhood of not being met, not being seen, not being heard, not being respected, not being loved. And then his behavior had no hook in her anymore. She was able to see at what it was. And that's what happens when you break a trauma bond. You don't feel addicted. You literally feel repulsed. And you literally come out of the trance and you go, "Oh my God, that is so not my reality. And I'm not even interested in fighting back. And I'm not even attracted, addicted, or craving you anymore. I feel free from it." So she powerfully realized, like we all do when we take that journey, that this person was never the savior of our wounds. They're actually the brutal messenger of what is still healed within us. And that's one of the greatest gifts of narcissistic abuse, even though it is brutal, is that it brings up for us, because that's what they target, what is still unhealed within ourselves and what we need to heal to have an amazing life and amazing relationships. So number four, how they trauma bond us. They use guilt, obligation, and empathy to keep you enmeshed. Narcissists are experts at exploiting your deepest values, your loyalty, your compassion, your kindness, and turning them against you. So they say things like, "You're so selfish after everything I've done for you. If you really loved me, you wouldn't give up on us." They plant the seed that walking away means that you're the abuser and not them. And if you're a heart-centered, empathetic person who takes a lot of pride in doing the right thing and caring about people, this lands like a dagger in your heart, because you've been trained from childhood even to question yourself first, to take responsibility for the breakdowns and other people's dysfunctions, and to try harder to fix things, to be there for sick or abusive people, to try to hold the family together. Do you relate to this? Because a lot of people in our community absolutely have been through this. This is one of the big skirmishes that can keep you trauma bonded to narcissists, feeling responsible for them while they keep ripping your soul, your life, your resources, and your life force apart. So a man once said to me that she had told him, the narcissist in his life, "You said you'll always love me." And I believed that I was a monster for leaving her, even though she cheated on me, she emotionally abused me for years. I stayed, thinking I owed her love no matter what she did to me. And that's how they trap you. They weaponize your integrity against you. And they know that you're going to beat yourself up before you blame them. And they exploit that every step of the way. Okay, who can relate to this? Let me know in the chat whether you've been through that. Because I really want to give you this truth drop that's really important to understand. Love is never proven by how much pain you are willing to endure from somebody. True love doesn't require you to lose yourself. That's not love, okay? That's love dressed up. That's self-abandonment dressed up as love. It's not love. So this gentleman, he did his NARP work, and he was really diligent with module 6 in NARP, which is all about this exact skirmish, feeling responsible for people who are not responsible for themselves. He healed his original family of origin feelings of shame, guilt, and obligation because his mum was sick, unwell, and he kept trying to save her. So therefore, he ended up with women that were narcissistic that were doing the same. And he was able to detach, take his emotions and his soul back, not feel the guilt, and leave and lay boundaries to her. And not long after that, he attracted a loving, real partner into his life. That pattern was broken. So I hope you can relate, because that is a big trauma bond that a lot of beautiful, really amazing, lovely people have. Okay, so if you have that trauma bond and you would like to break it, write a big capital letter yes with exclamation marks, really stand for that, and write it in the chat. Okay, and for details on how to, if you haven't already, write reclaim in the chat, and I'll send you the details about how you can get that journey started so that you no longer have your sensitivities, your good heart, and your empathy used against you by narcissistic people. Okay, number 5, and a lot of people don't know this, and it's really important to understand. Narcissists create energetic and psychic attachments with you that feel unbreakable. And please know that a lot of trauma goes beyond logic. When you think of trauma, it's in the unseen world anyway, isn't it? Trauma is a feeling. It's not like you can look and say, okay, well, here's a picture, a water bottle is trauma. It's nothing physical and solid, it's emotional. So much happens through the somatic, emotional, psychic bodies. And with narcissists, this is a really, really big thing. Think of Dementors in Harry Potter, and you know that you've been around certain people and even thinking of them, and you feel like your life force is literally getting sucked out of you. So trauma bonds go beyond the logical. They bypass your rational mind, and they tether you on a somatic, emotional, being level, and you're a human being. You're not a human logic or a human thinking. You're a human being. And they literally entrench themselves in your energy field, your auric field, and your psychic field. And this happens especially through intense emotional merging. And that's what narcissists do. They are very, very intent on dissolving boundaries and merging with you, because that's exactly what narcissistic supply is about. And narcissists are not connected to their own energy source. They're literally like vampires that are not connected to their soul, their inner child or source. So they can't feel healthy, fulfilling feelings. They can't feel whole. So they're always feeling terminally empty. So they have to parasite. They have to enmesh and blur boundaries with you. And it's psychic entanglement. So even the ones, you'll get a push-pull. You'll get a push-pull all the time. But because too much merging feels vulnerable, intimate, and threatening to them. So they've always got to push you away. So it's about push-pull control, but it is about psychic infiltration. So people can refer to this as psychic cords, bindings, or even entity level infiltration. So you might go no contact with a narcissist. You might even block them, delete everything, and do all the right things. But yet you still feel them in your body, in your dreams, in the field. You think about them, and then they may message you. You start to feel free, and then you suddenly get hit with a wave of grief or longing, or a trigger of wanting accountability, a trigger of injustice. All these triggers and things come up, and they're still living on in your body. So one woman told me, my client, she said, every time I started to feel strong, like I was finally moving on, I'd feel him. Do you relate? Let me know. Just say facts in the chat if you're relating to this, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard this story and experienced it personally. It was eerie. It's like I could feel his energy around me, and then maybe he'd contact me and I'd spiral. Or just when I'm starting to break through and I'm feeling better about my life, I get hit with a horrible memory and the stinking thinking about what he did, and I'd feel like I'm like stuck back in the stinking pit of the drama and the chaos and the insanity and the abuse. And it's like I kept self-sabotaging myself. It was like he was stuck in my energy field, not letting me move forward. It was like I had some kind of psychic leash on me, and I didn't know how to get free from that. Now, I want you to understand, this is not in your head. It's not in your head. You're thinking about it, but it's not in your head. It's entanglement. It's trauma cords. It's unresolved wounds in our being that are agreeing with this at some deeper level about our unworthiness, or we're not lovable, or we don't deserve to be free, or we don't deserve to heal, or we don't deserve a better life. That this is the level of life that we deserve. And I promise you, there are those deeper traumas that keep us bound to this stuff. And narcissists are still feeding off that energy. I've had so many clients in personal sessions over the last 20 years that when we release those traumas that are holding those cords in place, the narcissist, even after years, made contact. It's happened in sessions. It's like, and I'm sure it's very unconscious for them, it's like the energy cord is dropped and they reach out to try to get it back. It's incredible. And if you think about crocodiles will put carcasses under a rock and store them. And I know that there are many narcissists who have got energetic cords into a ton of people in their life that never got free from it, and they are sucking life force even if they haven't seen these people for years. And often people, when they come into this community and they start working NARP, some of them even 20, 30 years later from getting away are still being sucked dry until they get the traumas and the cords out of their being and go free. So when the trauma goes, and it's not willpower that can get it out, it's inner healing that dissolves the charge. That's how we get it out, and quantum healing does it. So when the trauma goes, the cord breaks. And it's not about, you might have learned about tie cutting and visualizing tie cutting, etc., etc. Now that does give you relief, but it's a temporary fix, because if the trauma underneath it is never healed, either that cord's going to reform, or you're going to get into a relationship and then you're going to recreate the same attachments with parasitical people that are going to use your wounds against you. So it's about cleaning up the wounds. So thank God for myself, because I went through the psychic attachment at a horrific level. It was going to kill me. It really was. I discovered how to break out of this, and it did save my life. So, and this beautiful lady, she was able to do the same thing. She received with NARP, module 9 and module 2 were huge for this. She did the work on that, and she was able to directly target the psychic attachments, shift the wounds out, and it all melted away. And she actually did it specifically when she got the prescription for that from me. She did it within 2 days. And this is what she said 2 days later. I can function again. He's gone. He's booted out of my energy field, and I feel like I've got my mind and my body back. She actually had her soul back. And that's the power of quantum freedom healing. We're not here to fight the darkness. It's about removing from inside us what allowed it in, and reclaiming our light so that darkness can't infiltrate. So, beautiful thrivers, I really want you to understand that these trauma bonds are not your fault. They're not. You fell into a trauma loop with somebody that you trusted. But the moment you start healing the loop from the inside out, you get to change everything. And the problem is surface remedies like talking and research don't deal with trauma bonds. They just don't. Because what's keeping you stuck and addicted is somatic, it's energetic, it's emotional, it's in the unseen world. And you're thinking about it because you're feeling it. It's not in your head, it's in your body. And it's got to be addressed at that level. And some people never break out of their trauma bonds. I've met plenty of those people that have never done the inner work, who never get out of them. And the cost is horrific. It's ongoing, complicated post-traumatic stress disorder. They're unable to move forward, heal, or thrive. And for a lot of people, it costs a fortune in therapy, repeatedly talking and getting, some processes to try to help you, but it's still there because it's never left you. Can be doctor's appointments because disease is dis-ease. It's all got an emotional root. And it costs even more in the lost opportunities for you to be healthy, abundant, and fulfilled. And I see it all the time until people cut the ties that were binding them energetically, emotionally, and spiritually, and to do it properly, quantumly, to get the traumas out that were keeping the ties in place. And when that happens, people come home to themselves. They reactivate, they break off, they get free, they get sovereign. And how do they feel about the narcissist after that? They detach from them easily and dissolve them from their reality. They have no claim or power over them anymore. And please know, when you do the inner work in a quantum way, and that's what quantum freedom healing does, freedom isn't just possible, it's inevitable. It works every time if you do the work. So what I want you to do, and a lot of you here that are in the, you're already doing that work, you're already on that work, But for those of you who haven't, when you start doing that work, you'll wonder why you never knew about it and why nobody showed you before. So if you want to explore it and you want the help with it, type reclaim in the chat, and I'm going to send you the details of how you can get started and a limited time discount. And also, please know this original question, which I'm taking to our private NARC coaching group on my Friday morning, and the replays come up. We're going to do a deeper dive into this. We're going to look at the exact quantum freedom healing shifts on the inner being to get this out powerfully and quickly. So new members and existing members, this is going to be a coaching call that you don't want to miss. We're going to be on for about an hour and a half and answer any questions about this, anything else that's come up for people. And also too, that will be in your members platform as a recording if you can't be there live. And as soon as you're a NARC member, you get the notification of that session, as well as every weekly coaching call with me. So, you know, we get to do this together. And also, please share this video out with people and get the word out so that we can help people know that there are real healing solutions for this. Because in the narcissistic abuse communities, in my personal humble opinion, there's way too much talk about narcissists. There's so much belief about it just is what it is, and you're always going to be damaged, and you just have to warn people. But no, your greatest thriving life can happen for you, not despite what happened to you, but actually because of it. And that's what I love, showing people how to create. So that's it from me. Thank you for joining me today, and sending you love, blessings, and healings until the next one. Bye-bye.